Welcome. This week we'll talk about the Louisville loss, daydream about a Clemson win, and discuss a little bit of this and that. Sean, roll that beautiful bean footage. Sheesh, what a heartbreaker. Louisville with the late touchdown to steal one from the Hoos at home. Having left points on the field, one can only imagine what it would have been like to be 5-1 halfway through the season. Mills, should we have won that game?
You know, at the start of this season, I had picked Louisville to win this game. In the last podcast, I picked Louisville to win by 4. Watching that game, yeah, I totally agree. We should have won that game. There was some mistakes out there that we made, and when you look back at it and you watch the game over, you see what we made, and you do a little something here, do a little something there, and you win that game. I think the big takeaway is that going for it on fourth and 3 from the 3-yard line, do you take the points to go up 10-7 at half? So yeah, this one is definitely a missed opportunity that we had. I think we showed that we can compete with some of the teams in the ACC. Now, coming up with Clemson will be a different story. But, yeah, I hate that this one got away from us. Sean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so last year, Tony Elliott talked a lot about there's 4 to 5 plays that make a difference in the game. And this really came to fruition this week. And we had about 4 or 5 plays that truly cost us this game. So, we had 2 bad punts. One of them gave Louisville the ball on our own 14-yard line, which they proceeded to run right into the end zone 1 play later. And that's the difference right there. And, rewatching it today, we were a very evenly matched team, and we were right in it, and we just couldn't get it done with those handful of plays. Just chalk this up as another one-possession game that didn't go our way. Not to get too stat heavy on you at the very beginning, Tony Elliott, 5-9 in one-score games, and that's counting 7 or less points. 5-9. So we're right there. It's showing progression, but we got to find a way to finish games and find a way to get those games to go our way. So the program is showing progression, and I'm here for it. When we looked at the schedule, we were pretty optimistic, but the guys have been playing for the most part pretty well. We're just a few more guys away from this program really taking off, and we just need a little bit more fan and student support, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. But the crowd for this game was just downright pathetic. So
yeah, that was a heartbreaker of a loss for sure. To imagine that we would go back-to-back years playing it close with Louisville, I wouldn't have thought that. But looking, that game just was pretty devastating. I think we put a lot on the field on that one, and like you said, it just boiled down to just a few little plays that ultimately cost us the game. But that game, I think, it took a lot of wind out of our sails, and I'm hoping, it's going to be interesting to see what the mindset is as we head into Clemson at Clemson.
I don't know if it should take the wind out of our sails. I mean, we showed we can play with a team that we'll call them top 30, maybe top 35, which is Louisville. We're right there. We are solidified ourselves as not a cellar-dweller team in the ACC. We're more mid-pack with the potential to be better. And again, our defense really showed the bend, don't break mentality, because there's numerous times that we could have given up scores, and again, we held them to a field goal. We forced a missed field goal that really kept us in it. And I mean, on defensive side, our stars showed up. Sanker and Robinson, and Bennett, they all played a huge game. Most of them playing with some type of pain, some type of injury. But they were just all over the field. It just gave it everything, and I liked what I saw. Sanker was flying all around. Even special teams, he made that big tackle on that 60-yard punt that, Sparks finally showed up a little bit. And then they just gave it their all. We had some weaknesses in the run defense, but again, we showed they were a bend, don't break. We didn't really allow them to get too vertical on us, except for a couple plays here and there. But I mean, ultimately, you look at the defense, and they're keeping us in this game. And, last thing I want to touch on the defensive side real quick at the beginning is, we even had a turnover, which was a huge turnover by Ethan Mentor, the local kid out of Chesterfield, went to Thomas Dale. I don't know if it made it or not, but it definitely should have been on You Got Mossed, because, I mean, he went up and completely snatched that ball over the wide receiver's head.
Well, the going back to what you said about the run defense, I mean, that's got to be a little bit concerning heading into a few more of our games. UNC, they have the capacity to run as well, SMU as well, but really why I get so nervous about our run defense is really the last game of the season.
Yeah, going into the run defense, Isaac Brown, he carried the ball 20 times for 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, we let the run. You had to pick one thing to beat you, and we let the run beat us. I mean, I don't think we gave up, 1 or 2 big passes. But other than that, the secondary somewhat locked down, did a really good job.
Especially covering for injuries, too.
Yeah,
we had some backups
100%.
playing on
And
the
Clary
secondary.
wasn't there. He's not going to be here against Clemson. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. But to be honest, I think this game is kind of like stings worse now than the Maryland game because we had it. I know Sean touched on the punter. I'm not going to ridicule the punter. I know he had 2 terrible punts, but he's still a top 3 punter in the country. He can flip a field. He tried 2 rugby punts. They didn't work. I understand why rolling them out. I get it. But I think just let him stand back there and let him do his job now. Just let him punt normally. Don't have to do the rollout. He had 1 bad game and it cost us, but we can also look at what are y'all's thoughts on that 4th and 3, to be honest. Like, I know we talked about it, and I believe it was the Wake Forest game or Maryland game. We did the same thing. We didn't go for it. We kicked the field goal. But that's 4th and 1 from the 1. It's a little different. I think, do we have a play that can get us 3 yards to score a touchdown? And at that point, 7-7, you take the points where we're at in our season. It's not like we're 1-4. We're 4-1. Take the points, go into the half up, and let's see if we can survive the second half.
Yeah, the pushback has been that the play calling would have been entirely different throughout the game, with those 3 points. But we didn't lose by 3 points. So, that ultimately would have mattered.
But if you're down 1, the play calling in that last drive is tremendously different. And I think
You're playing for the field goal versus needing a touchdown.
Yeah, and the other thing we're going to talk about it, but like you have 3 timeouts. I know Ben and I we chatted about it. You have 3 timeouts. We were running the ball decent. Why not throw a run in there? The receivers were gassed.
Well, the goal with that is, one, yes, your receivers, but also really to just get another opportunity of downs. I mean, if you could have gouged out, 5-6 yards, and maybe you've got a shorter throw to get a first down, and then we get another 4. So, and we're that much closer, into the red zone where we don't do very well at. So, but, you have something, Sean?
Yeah, so for me, the 4th and 3, it kind of hurt. And I'm okay with being aggressive because we want the red zone touchdown, but like you both said, it does change the dynamic of the game where we potentially we're going into the half with the lead. And then potentially towards the end of the game, you're only chasing 1. You're down 1 potentially instead of 4. So you can't kick a field goal at the end. So it definitely changes your play calling. But again, it comes back to in 27 trips to the red zone this year, we've only scored 10 touchdowns. You ready for a stat? This is the stat of all stats right now. That is 129th out of 134 teams. That is our biggest weakness. And we talked about it. We've lost 9 one-score games in the Tony Elliott area. Not scoring touchdowns in the red zone, we talked about earlier in the season, is going to come back to bite us, and it bit us again this week, and it's going to continue to bite us until we turn it around and we stop kicking field goals and score touchdowns.
So what are you seeing, though, is the reason why we're not scoring touchdowns?
Des Kitchen.
Yeah, it's definitely comes down to play calling. We need to have some solid play calling, and everybody knows it gets tougher when you get into the red zone because the field shrinks up. You're not getting a lot of cushion. There's more hat on hat, man to man defense being played. But I want to see a back shoulder fade to Fields, which
I think
and granted-
I've only seen one this year.
Yeah, well, I will say we did a nice ball to Fields, and he dropped it. I think it was on that same drive.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't go back to it.
Well, this was in the third. Let me rephrase. So in the third, we had a chance to score a touchdown in the red zone. Fields was falling down, but the ball still hit him in the chest, and he dropped it. He didn't catch it. That's a touchdown. But instead, we settled for a field goal. So those are the plays right there where we got to have it, and that's you chalk that up as another play that didn't go our way. And you're looking at it like, I know, it was the ball was put perfectly where only Fields could catch it, and that's perfect placement by Calandria, and we're not coming down with the ball for our man.
And with that, I mean, you see it with other teams. We've got to have 2-3 good plays that we're going to run that work that just open up that part way for our running backs.
And it can't be the Grady bunch.
Yeah, and it can't because
3 yards out.
I'm getting a little bit concerned because that was a close call as well. I mean, he got over, but I mean, 1 second,
earlier he fumbles, and they're returning it.
Exactly,
and it's not the first time he's fumbled the snap.
And I keep mentioning it, and maybe I'm off because I'm not a coach, but I'd like to see them add a couple little wrinkles with Grady. You know what I mean?
Well, they did. They tried him from the shotgun as well, and he ran it right up the gut, didn't get nowhere. And then because they did it on the third down play, and then the fourth down play. It doesn't necessarily mean that he has to be it doesn't necessarily mean he has to be the one that runs it in, but I mean, you're saving hits on Calandria.
Well,
if you think of it as a ticking time bomb.
No,
I'm saying you can jump past a little pitch,
the Tim Tebow
anything like that. I'm just saying because now and maybe we're saving that for the last game of the year, something that I haven't seen yet, but.
Clemson. I mean, that's how you're going to beat a team like that. Is you're going to have to pull out all the stops.
Speaking of, interesting wrinkles, Kobe Pace or Malachi Fields for
2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row
with a pass. So I mean, they brought it up in the broadcast that he was a former quarterback in high school. You would like to see a little bit better ball. He can't give it away by taking his glove off. Yeah, he's got the glove on. So
I mean, he's 2 for 2 right now. But I've said it 3 episodes now, three times now. I think Death's Kitchen has to go. And following the game on X, and if you haven't done so already, follow us on X, Cardiac Who's. The big thing is, it's just not us. It's the fan base itself, and we'll get into the fan base, but they won't Dez out. He is holding us back. I don't think he's making the right calls. And to be honest, Tony Elliott was a OC at Clemson for 8-9 years, almost 10.
He was at Clemson for 11 years and part of the offensive side of the ball for all of those.
Yeah. So let him. He also won 2 national championships. Now different players clearly, but let him start. A head coach make the play calls.
Something needs to be shaken up, and it's very vanilla. And we are missing Chris Tyree, and we're missing Trail Harris, and it shows. I mean, we went to last drive. We went to Fields 3 out of the 4 plays.
But it doesn't, because also I'm looking at it Green showed out, Neville showed out.
We got to get Neville is a guy we need to get the ball to more, and he does not get taken down by one guy. It takes 2-3 guys to pull this man down.
Yeah, but when you need that extra guy blocking, you can't do both.
But Cam Courtney.
He's looking good.
Yeah, I'm just saying we have
got the weapons.
Receivers. It's just the play calling sucks. You can't. After our scripted 15 plays after the first drive, we look lost. We can't get anything going. We come out of second half. We got clearly another scripted 15 plays because we drive the ball well sometimes. It's just hey, why don't you script out 45?
But let's also talk about Calandria is a dual threat quarterback. And in the first half, he had over 50, 60 yards rushing. We used him as RPO a lot.
Yeah, but he took some shots, dude.
Not as bad as last week. But again, he got down. He got down this week.
He got hit a lot harder.
He got hit.
He got
there was one. I watched it back again
Musket
today.
Came in, though.
That's because the helmet fell off.
Second time this season.
And it was the same play as last year when he got hit. The helmet starts sliding off, and his instinct is to pop it off. So that cost him. That's why we got to make sure he's got to get a different helmet fitting because that's ridiculous. He's going to end up like the NC State kid who helmet flew off after one hit and then got popped in the mouth on the second hit. So, but
he took some shots into the gut as well.
Yeah,
he just took
took one or two,
shots.
but he did still get down on some plays, got out of bounds on others. And again,
the big thing about Calandria, he didn't turn the ball over.
yeah, we keep talking, and I keep saying it, and I'll reiterate. When we're not talking about him turning the ball over and him being a game manager, he looks good.
Yeah,
He wasn't really even a game manager. To me, that was a game where he stepped up and played and did what was asked of him. It might have been his best game this year. He led in both rushing and receiving. Which you don't really want to see your quarterback leading in
rushing, passing, but yes. So there was a few plays that he had a few balls that got away from him. He had one where he got pressured and he threw it deep to Fields in double coverage. He's lucky he wasn't intercepted. That was the only one. But if he's able to throw that ball fully without the pressure in his face and not off his back foot, it's a touchdown.
And the big one that he probably wants back the most is the second down in the fourth quarter on the last drive. If he just floats the ball, 2 inches higher, he has Fields for at least a 25-yard, 30-yard gain. And we're now kicking a field goal. Not kicking a field goal, but we're in the red zone.
4 shots.
Yes, we're taking all 4 shots to the end zone. But I'm not mad at the game. I'm not disappointed. The big thing that I'm mad about is, did anybody show up to this game to watch it?
Well, you're clearly still mad at Dez. I want to say,
I'm going to be mad at Dez.
Dez is not going anywhere this year.
Well, he can't do that. Well, yes, not this year, but Tony Elliott better not be Bronco and say, I got to stick with my guys. Nope, sorry.
They're all New Mexico.
Well, that's true. But
the band is back together.
Yeah, and look how they're doing out there. But the thing is, Dez has to be gone at the end of the year. Go get somebody who is a true OC. This guy's never been a true OC anywhere. He was a running back coach in Atlanta, and look what Atlanta said, got rid of him. He went to NC State. They got rid of him. He's just not good. And yeah, sorry, Dez, you're listening. You should be fired.
Well, that's a long shot if he's listening to us. But, I'm not far off from that. We have to shake up the offense again. He's dealing with injuries. You're dealing with a younger quarterback. You're trying to make the right reads. But, what happened from the play calling from the beginning of the season? We talked about this in the bye week.
It was Richmond.
No, but I'm saying the play calling was different. But we went back to that this week. We ran the RPO, and he looked good. We got the ball to the tight end this week. He looks good doing that. We just can't harp on Fields. And I want to come back to that final drive again. 4 straight passes. First one gets deflected. Second one was
the guy. The
trailing.
Tipped it.
Yeah, he was trailing Fields. So that was 2. 3 complete miscommunication between Fields and
I
Calandria,
thought he was trying to throw it away, but
no, there was communication issues there. And then 4th down, he got it to Neville, which I'm not going to sit here and blame the officiating for this game. There was calls on both sides that should have went our way or should not have, or should have gone against us. But 4th and 10, when he turns our tight end and grabs him 2 to 3 times and holds him back and he can't make a play on the ball, everybody in the stands were calling for that DPI.
If there had been more fans that have been loud enough, then maybe it would have been
they were definitely loud enough, trust me. And that hurt us. We were looking for the flag on the 4th and 3 end zone play. I felt like he got to Courtney early, but then they called it on us on the other side of the ball. So the officiating was kind of suspect, but again, I will not sit here and tell you that officiating cost us this game. It just cost us the ability to continue that drive. I definitely felt like there was definitely enough there for the call to be there.
I will say, overall performance from the start of the season to now, we are definitely a slightly different team, a better team than people expected. I think that
I would say it's better than we expected.
Yeah,
I was trying to tell you guys that it's not as dark as Dyer. Well, maybe not you, Sean, but Mills, I tried to explain to you that I didn't think it was as dark as Dyer.
I thought this is the streak of we're going to lose 8 straight, but we're going to Clemson, and I know we'll talk about it, but there's not much to talk about. I think we get boat raced quickly, and hopefully the big thing out of that is don't get hurt. That's what I want.
And Louisville they're just a nasty team.
They were also coming off of 2 losses. again.
But I'm just saying, like, that was, to me, felt like a real physical game. And maybe, we've seen some of the injuries that are coming out.
I think,
but it seems that there's still guys playing, but they are definitely banged up after that game.
Oh, 100%.
well, you talk about the physicality of Louisville, and I brought it up, and I was like, man, they all get to the ball. I didn't see the hits on us like we were putting on them. I mean, there were some big hits. I got Jam Jackson with a huge one, Sanker with another big one. Chico was tracking people down. We laid the lumber. We showed that we are a physical defensive front. I mean, yeah, when the average age is 23 and a half, yeah, we're going to put some hits on some folks.
I mean, Cam Robinson played out of his mind in the linebacker field.
Oh, yeah.
But
Cam and Jam.
the big issue, we
good.
didn't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback either. I mean,
We got some, but
Not
we're
like
not
we
getting
wanted.
sacks from the secondary. We're not getting sacks from the defensive line. If
But
we get
again,
sacks,
it
it's
goes
coming from
back
the
to, like,
secondary.
pick your poison, right? You want to get it in the air, or do you want to get it on the ground? So, yeah,
took
maybe they're
the-
not
we took the
sending,
ground.
maybe they're not sending as many in, but they're not moving the ball. They're
I will-
not dropping it in on us.
I think when we go back, when we talked right before the Tech game, and we look at, or after the Tech game, and we look at the season in a whole, we'll probably circle this game as like, what if? And that's going to be tough to swallow. But what if we are 5-1 and we're one game away from a bowl? And what if
halfway through the season?
Correct, but and here's the what if you're 5-1, we're 3-0 the ACC, we're going into Clemson. Okay, yeah, Clemson might beat us, but we're still going to be at the top of the standings at 3-1. It's now we're looking at we're going to be 3-2. It's like one of those things where we're going to be 2-2. It's just
We see the ball rolling downhill, and we got to find a way to stop it. And
correct.
It doesn't look like Clemson's going to be the game that we stop the ball. So, as in the metaphorical ball rolling down the hill.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we look a lot better than a lot of people gave us credit for. And I think, again, I talked about it. The program is trending the right direction. And I think it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here.
Sweet. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, or lack of the attendance bin.
Yeah. So everybody has a different angle on it. So I had said it, and my perspective was, I thought, the more I've been thinking about it, I think it's detrimental to recruiting.
100%.
If we win that game, maybe not quite as much, but we lose the game, and you're there on a visit, and you see a half-empty stadium.
I wouldn't even say half. They said
Well,
32,000, but there's been reports.
I could have been
only
I could have
22.
been an optimistic person, said half full. But anyway, like I said, that's bad for recruiting, man. I wouldn't want to go play for a program if I'm at a high level that
Right.
doesn't fill out in sport.
And I know it was fall break, and I don't know who.
No excuses.
Yeah, I understand. There's no excuses. I don't know who you call out on that, like Carla or the ACC. Like, hey, you should. And I, why not? The next week is Clemson. We'll add that. Just move fall break to the 19th. Like, move it. I know they're trying to give giveaways of these. They did 5,000 of these UVA orange jerseys, which was blah. But they're trying. But they didn't have 5,000 students there. I wouldn't even say there was 1,600 students there. There was like 5 rows in the stands and maybe 400 on the hill. It was bad. Like, the cameraman didn't really show it on the TV because how empty it was. Sean, I know you were there, so you can kind of talk about your experience being there and how empty it was.
Yeah, it was a tough scene to take in, and I know people were talking about it was fall break and whatnot. The crowd was just underwhelming. What bothers me is I got there a few minutes late. It was family weekend for me. I took the entire family there, and we
needed every one of them.
Hey, they all scanned a ticket, so we got credit for
Even-
it. But when I was walking in, it was about middle of the first quarter, and I saw students leaving with their free jersey in tow. Look, my family, my wife is not about confrontation. So if I would have asked this kid, where are you going? The game just started. It probably would not have gone over so well in the household after. So I kind of let it go, but it started irking me. And I'm like, where else are you going on Saturday when the game is right there in front of you? Like, where are you going? You got your free jersey. What are you going to wear that for? Your next club frisbee meeting or something. Like, stay at the game and cheer on the boys. Like, you don't even have to stand up the entire time in the student section. Just be there and on the third downs get loud. But it was pathetic.
Let's ask the real question, though. Why are people, not just students, but fans in general, not going? Is it cost of the tickets? I saw today on Barstool UVA, they took a hot take and said, does UVA need at least 3 consecutive seasons of winning football before you sell out Scott? And 83% said yes. I think it goes back to, if you're not winning consecutively, why come to the games? And then we haven't had that season. We've had one 10-win season. We went to the Orange Bowl under Bronco. But other than that, we're a meh team. We're a 500% team, and maybe we get 7 or 8, but I think winning does bring people out. The ticket prices are a little high for season tickets, and we know next year, I bet season tickets are going to be higher because Tech comes into town, and you know what they do? They just come and buy the season tickets, and then they sell the rest of the games so they can have their ticket to Tech, UVA.
Well, you talked about you need multiple winning seasons. So in the Bronco era, 6 and 7, which that seventh loss was.
It's got to be 9+ wins. That's what I think.
We got to be realistic as well. It's UVA. So 2017 with Bronco, we were 6 and 6 in the regular season. Went to our first bowl game in many years. Cold bowl game. I was at it, and so 6 and 6. Then Bronco takes us to 8 and 5, and then 9 and 5. Even in that 9 and 5 season, we're not selling out Scott. So we have a very tough venue to fill out. 61,500 is capacity. I don't know if that's including the hill or if that's ticketed seats or whatever they consider capacity. I'm not looking for a sellout. I'm okay with 45 to 50,000. I mean, we know it's tight quarters. I mean, me walking in late, walking to my seat, I had to get over people, and it's tight quarters. So, but we wanted to see 45, 50,000 is respectable. This 32,000 number is atrocious. I mean, earlier in the season, we were seeing numbers in the 42, 43,000.
But
this was noticeably less.
When I was a kid in the early 2000s, they were constantly having 60+.
I would be curious to know what the viewership on TV is for these games.
And that's I think also a big difference. In the early 2000s, these games weren't always televised because you didn't have the ACC network, you didn't have the CW.
That was 20 years ago, Mel.
That's what I'm saying. That's why people went to the games, because you couldn't find it on TV, so they went and watched it.
Yeah, I mean, but the same's not true for other programs. And yeah, I know they're winning programs, different pedigree and whatnot.
I also think it's easier, and I'm at fault. I'll call myself out. I'm at fault. It's a lot easier to turn on ESPN, crack me a cold one, sit down on the couch, watch the game. When the game is over, I'm done. I don't have to drive home, pack up, walk back,
But honestly, it's just so you can drink Bud Light and no one else sees you drinking it.
I like me a good old Bud Light here and there. I do drink my Miller, though.
I understand that it's easier to turn it on the TV, and maybe we got those fans who'd rather sit at home with their Bordeaux's and whatnot and sip their wine and cheese board. But the atmosphere
Nothing
at the
wrong with a cheese
games,
board.
I just soak it in, and I don't know. Like I said, I've been going 8 years now, 9 years now to these games, and I don't leave. I just enjoy being there and just watching the game in person because you can see so much more. You can see what's going on. You get to see the fan interaction. You get to be part of the crowd noise. And even if I don't like the people who are in front of me who stand up on every play that they don't need to and block my view.
You know who you are, Section 529.
So even if I am unhappy with how that goes, I enjoy being there and being in Charlottesville. And this weekend, you didn't even have weather to take into factor. This was a great football weather. It was 65, 70 degrees. You didn't need a jacket. My little ones didn't have to wear a jacket and get bundled up. It wasn't freezing. This was the perfect weekend to go.
And I want to come back to, when we talked a little bit about a winning schedule. You can't really say that they're not putting a competitive product on the field. I mean, there's been games, like the Pittsburgh game where we threw the back-to-back picks at the beginning of the game, which was, I regretted going to that game. But it's last year, I mean, there was a lot of close games. You look at the Miami game, Louisville this past week. I mean, they're putting exciting games out on the field that maybe, it doesn't go our way, but they do warrant you staying and finishing out that game.
I think another big issue with this is also the parking. Let's just talk about it.
So it's a good time for them to be working on Fontaine, I suppose, right now.
Yeah,
because I'm sure they're working on Fontaine for the parking for football games.
But in seriousness, though, other venues, they have parking around their stadium, and I understand that we're on the actual campus of Virginia, so the grounds actually. But other venues, college venues, they have parking. Legit good parking around this facility. You can tailgate. Like Fontaine or JPJ is a hell of a walk. It's 20 minutes. So you're trucking yourself up there. You got to tailgate. So, I'm not going to be a dead horse. I'm just saying there's issues. Hopefully UVA's looking at it, but that's my 2 cents.
I don't think you can bring up parking as a factor either. I mean, they offer plenty of options. They got shuttle buses, and I parked at JPJ because I knew Fontaine was going to fill up by the time I got there, which it did. But they have shuttle buses. I mean, this isn't like your local school bus from Albemarle County or Charlottesville City taking you to the game. These are charter buses and very nice. And it's not like it's just one. There was 4, 5, 6 that I saw that were kind of just staging and ready to take people. So I had stroller again, kids in tow and stuff. I didn't think it was going to be.
You got your steps in.
By the way, there's no way it's a 30-minute walk.
It was tough.
From JPJ is easily 25.
When I texted y'all telling y'all I got there, and then I walked in and I finally got to my seat at the very end of the first quarter.
Yeah,
I mean it's a hike.
I do think it's also on the opposite side.
Well,
so
see, I'm thinking
there's
Fontaine.
multiple hills.
Fontaine's at least 20 minutes.
No, Fontaine's 10 to 15.
Yeah.
Look at the walk segment that I recorded from there. RIP the walk. So
if you haven't checked out the walk,
there's only 2 of them.
Well,
one really good one.
You couldn't go around with the kids asking questions.
No, I didn't. I don't need that. So Fontaine is definitely the nicer place to park, but it's under construction, so you lose half the parking lot, and it's been filling up lately. But I mean, Fontaine is where I enjoy the tailgating atmosphere. I mean, there's a good crowd there. You got a nice walk. You cross one main street, and that's it. And you got a nice path, and you're not worried about the papaya. I'm thinking papaya. It's race weekend in Austin, so. You got a nice path. You don't have to worry about getting hit by cars. I mean, the whole walk back from JPJ, you got cars right beside you. So, and it's darker, and it's just not the best walk from JPJ. But that parking is an excuse. Ticket prices isn't an excuse. Come out and support the program, man. It's infuriating that people just can't get up no matter what we do to show out for this team. And again, Bronco took us to the Orange Bowl, and the game we came back after that, it still wasn't even filled. It wasn't 65,000, 70,000 or 55,000 people there after we went to the Orange Bowl and played Clemson. I mean, again, we got boat race, but we were winning games, and people still don't show up. So I don't understand it with this fan base, and it's infuriating me. Tech can win 2 games, and they're still going to sell out every game.
They show up.
They show up for that crappy program that hasn't won anything, and even in any other sport. I mean, come on.
You look at Giant.
We poked them.
Oh,
hibernating.
We'll see this
the hibernating bear.
But even look at Coastal Carolina. They put out 20,000 fans for us coming into town. I mean, look at Penn State. Look at any of these big programs. We watch more college football just to see the atmosphere. You talk about Texas A&M. You talk about Penn State whiteout. You talk about big games. What do we got? We got nothing good to that standard yet. And we got the video board's great. Come see it in person. I promise you. You won't miss a thing. You'll get to see the passing interference calls that they didn't call on the big scoreboard. And Tony Elliott's pointing look, see, you missed it. And the rest are looking around blind. I mean, the guy, when I watched the replay today, every time he called a penalty and he looked at the camera, he looked intoxicated by the marijuana. Just his look. So,
well, folks, Sean's voice went up another octave, so I think
it's time to move on to Clemson.
It's time to move on to Clemson.
The final, just show
Get
up.
it. Tell
Come
us.
to the game.
Come to the games.
Sean will even buy your ticket.
All right, so I said that we were going to daydream about beating Clemson. So, if if there was a way to beat Clemson, what has to happen?
Dabo has to have the flu.
That won't stop him. Look at last year Michigan without Jim Harbaugh.
All right, so maybe nothing. There's nothing. We're already a 21.5-point underdog for this game. Do we cover? I have no idea. I know y'all don't like the whole word covering, but
no. That was only from the perspective of if we
don't give financial advice.
If we're covering, it doesn't really mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything for wins and losses, but
we did cover last week.
We did cover, and I said we were going to lose by 4, but
I think I called the right score. I think I just called it opposite. I didn't go back and look, but I think I called 27-24. And that was the final, right? 27-24 Louisville?
No, 24-20.
Oh, that was close.
I said 23 to.
But either way, we're on Clemson. And
yeah, Clemson. I think we get boat raced. They have to prove something. They got boat raced by Georgia. They're going for this playoff.
That was one game, and you look at what they've done.
Oh, I know.
They've showed up.
Yeah, they showed up. So, and they're a top 10 team right now. They're 10th in the country, and they're rolling. And they just put a hurting on Wake Forest that we barely beat by 1. They won 49-14. So, yes, I think, and also this is going to be a statement. Dabo's probably going to be just like what Nick Saban did to all his assistant coaches. He's going to make a statement out of it, wants to show them, like, hey, who daddy is, and
And you're right, Mills. And I think that, when I was talking about, like, what would it take, I think some of it goes to Dabo and keeping his boys' minds right and not taking this game too lightly. Because if they do come into this game, think they're going to walk through it, and we come into this game, with that chip on our shoulder.
You can slip up. You can get an NIU against Michigan. Yes, 100%. There is a chance.
NIU versus Notre Dame.
Oh, Notre Dame. Sorry.
And so, I mean, I think something could happen. I'm not saying that it's going to, but you never really know. It's gonna be tough as nails.
I think the one thing that has us going is it's a noon kickoff. We know how to play in the noon kickoff games, and Clemson is known for having prime time or that later slate game. So, noon games are tough to get up for players.
So being the underdog, not being overlooked, and being a noon game is all we got so far.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you're not going to find it from the players on the field. And look, this is not us bashing our team. This is looking at the obvious. This is the David versus Goliath fight we got going on. And we saw what happened when we played them in the Orange Bowl. Obviously, years apart, but Clemson hasn't came down off that mountain yet. So,
well, let me ask you guys, what would be worse? Losing a close game that we should have, where we had them, we should have won, or just getting blown out?
I think
the first option. Like, I think I expect to get blown out. So if we're in the game and we're having a chance to win and we do something dumb like we did this week, yeah, I think that one would burn.
If we played like we did against Louisville, maybe clean up a few mistakes, and then we lost by a touchdown or even two touchdowns, I think that's a good win.
Yeah.
Tony talked about this is like we're going to see where our team is really at. Of course, yeah, this is a benchmark game, and I think the biggest thing about this Clemson team is obviously we got to at least talk about who they got. I mean, they got Cade Klubnik, who's in the Heisman talks. They've got a lot of guys who catch the ball. They got a lot of guys who can rush the ball. I mean, they've got over 1,200 yards on the ground,
and some big boys on both sides of the ball.
They can do it through the air, and they can do it.
Antonio Williams is a decent stud receiver.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, I mean, I've highlighted, they got guys, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8 guys who are catching multiple balls over 10 plus. I mean, Antonio Williams has got the 5 touchdowns. So, I mean, they can do it both on the ground and in the air. So, it's really going to be, do we put our defensive backs and cornerbacks in a position to go man-to-man and see if they can hold their own? Or are we going to load the box and try to get them to stop the run?
It just sucks that this is a rehearsal game for Cam Robinson in the transfer portal.
I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, if he was going to transfer, why not transfer last year?
To Clemson. No, but nonetheless, I know what you're saying. It was just an offhand remark. Sorry to get you upset, Sean. But
I just also think, like, we're so banged up like physically we're banged up. We got so many injuries. I would not be mad at Elliott at all if we get down 3 scores in a second and he starts resting our players.
Yeah, I think
I'm okay with that.
You don't want.
I'm okay with him not starting the true starters and letting them rest.
No, that would bother me more because we gave up before we even had a chance, or we gave up before the game even started. I want to see us put our best foot forward, but I do agree. This game is not. This would be an ACC loss, but the rest of our season's more important than this game. And if we can avoid injury, if we can rest some guys who are hurt, I mean, we talked about J.M. Jackson played a bunch. He played a lot of the last game hurt. He was physically limping around.
Cam Robinson was hurt. Chico Bennett was hurt.
Yeah, we got a lot of guys.
Boley was hurt.
Boley was hurt, went out, came back in, got hurt again, came back in.
The tent.
I felt bad for the guy.
Yeah,
he's got a rough road, but hey, good news is he's back. He's
for
good
the first
to go.
quarter.
Yeah.
Hey, the first quarter is what matters because I was looking at some numbers again. Clemson's only given up 7 points in the first quarter, and that was last week to Wake Forest. So they got a really stout defense. So I think it's really going to be tough. And, I just want to see a clean game from Calandria again as well. Just protect the ball, keep the momentum going with clean games. It's just going to be an overall battle, guys. I really don't know how to sugarcoat this or look at it and be like, I see a way. I didn't even look at the game film with Clemson because you just know they're playing great football right now. They had that one game against Georgia, and they woke up, and now they're boat racing folks every week. And
I mean, if we're going to win, it's probably going to be the coin toss. But, I want to see if we do win the coin toss. I actually
how many punts is our boy Sparks going to get?
Well, he gets a second chance to redeem himself in this game.
Shoot, after this game, he might be the number 1 punter in the country.
So, I mean, I'm looking at it and thinking about how do you beat a team that far outmatches you. I think you got to try the trick plays, and maybe you can get them cheating. Look at maybe
bring a
some
shank
more
on the field.
Maybe some flea flickers, maybe some fake punts. Like what did JMU do to UNC? They
outplayed them.
Okay, but you did it with trick plays. You did onside kicks. You did the unexpected. So Virginia's going to have to take some of that from the playbook.
Elliott has that in him to do it.
I think he does.
He's a
but
traditional guy.
I think
he might have beat ULM.
I think we're going to play this game pretty straight, though, Sean. I think what is going to be the most important win is if they earn the respect of Clemson when they walk off that field. And
what's a respectable score?
A 1 touchdown loss.
Okay.
I say if we keep it within 2. I mean, no one's kept it within. I mean, you look at these numbers.
Florida State kept it within 16.
Yeah, that's the closest game they had was Florida State. Everything else has been
blowouts.
Yeah.
Even Georgia game was blowout.
So really, if we can keep it within 2 touchdowns, we'll even give it 2.5. So
I say if they cover. Shoot, if they cover 21.5, they cover. That's respectable.
Oh, I think they'll cover. I mean, I think you're going to be surprised about this game, and just like with all the.
But I wouldn't be surprised either if it goes the other way and we're down 28-0 at the end of the first quarter. And again,
I'd be pretty upset with that.
I think I would be upset, but
why would you be upset? We know this.
We're getting 2 different types of guys.
What are you like? I'm just
Division I Power 4 team. My expectations are that you're going to put points on the board. I don't care who you're playing against.
That's true. I guess, yeah. You put it that way. I mean, it's a long haul.
I don't know. The most they've given up is 35, and that was to NC State.
I'm just saying I'm going to be disappointed. I'm not going to let these guys off.
And they're more of a defensive team.
I'm not going to let these guys off that easy.
No, and again, I think the biggest takeaway is can we get out of this game without losing more guys to injuries?
You think Elliott still has his playbook from there? Just
what, like the water boy? Like he's over there.
He's like, all right, when they do flippy floppy 12, you know where they're going.
I hope it's a good weekend for him. He's talked about this isn't about me, which is the correct answer.
Is this his first time going back?
This is his first time going back.
Were you surprised about the AC comment that Dabo made?
Yeah, he said that Calandra is dynamic and it's going to make him game plan, which I've been trying to tell you for the season. We need to make him that true dual threat.
And he also said about Fields being the tallest receiver he played.
Yeah,
he's going to play.
I mean, Fields is a freakish athlete. And, maybe Dabo rethinks his stance and say, hey, maybe I try to get some of these transfers because it looks like some of these smaller schools can get some athletes, and maybe I can poach them later down the road. But, that's Dabo's whole thing he's got going on.
Well, we will say, it is Clemson week, so, we'll see how this game turns out, but I think we're all picking Clemson to win this one.
For sure. I do want to jump back into it because I kind of got sidetracked. I do hope Tony goes back and has a good homecoming for him personally. I mean, he talked about it today in the press conference. Like, he's not making it about him. It's not about him. And he's, once the whistle goes, it's going to be all business. But, I mean, the man went to school at Clemson. He spent a lot of time there. So I hope he soaks it in a little bit. Maybe he does find a way. Maybe he did have those game plans in his back pocket.
Well, you talked about, Dabo showing that he's daddy, but I mean, it is a double-edged sword that Elliott was in that program, so he's going to know a little bit as well. Ultimately, it's going to come down to execution or who the players on the field.
Execution.
But there is there has to be a little bit more of an advantage.
I mean, there's
coming from the program.
There's also another homecoming we're missing. Kobe Pace is coming back. I mean, he said his boys, his Clemson boys, have been hitting him up, texting him, saying they're ready to lay a lick on him.
Sorry to kind of go back to the Louisville game, but a little bit. But it's always so funny which running back's going to show up in this game. Is it going to be Brown? Or is it going to be Kobe?
I think whoever, like y'all said last week, whoever has the hot hand, you just keep feeding it. So, but yeah, so I mean that's kind of a wrap for the Clemson. I mean, I think that's the idea of we're gonna go see what we can do against the top 10 team.
I just want both teams to have fun.
Okay, YMCA.
So we keep on talking about basketball, baby.
Yeah.
We had a preseason poll come out. Mills, where do we fall at?
Yeah, so the ACC released their preseason standings, what they think that will finish for the year. UVA was picked 5th, and then the top 4 before that was Duke number 1, Carolina 2, Wake 3rd, and then Clemson 4th. So, and then we round out the top 5. There's a lot of unknown for this team, so it's going to be definitely interesting. As we talk, the offense is going to be changed a little bit, more fast-paced, so we'll see how that affects our defense. But also, just big surprise, we didn't receive any votes for the top 25, which is first time in Bennett's since 2012 for Bennett. And another fun fact, Bennett hasn't finished outside the top 4 for the ACC, so we'll see what happens.
And some people wanted Bennett to be gone after last year.
I never said that. I just said
he doesn't want that on public record.
I said that if he doesn't change the style, that we're not going to move, which he's decided to change.
Which we'll definitely, I think we'll get into that a little bit more in the next couple of weeks. We'll get into that in a couple of weeks. I'm pretty excited about talking about that. Just also want to highlight that Ryan Dunn knocked down some threes.
How about that? 6 threes, and in his whole total career at UVA, he only had 7. So he hit 6 in one night.
Well, I think it was 7 last year, but yeah, he found a jump shot in the NBA apparently.
NBA fits his game.
He didn't have to go to class anymore, so he had more time.
He wasn't going to class to begin with, but we'll see. Like I said, I do wish him well. You want to see guys succeed. I'm not ready to. I wish we would have had him this year, but it is what it is.
I want to touch on one thing that we kind of glossed over. Virginia women's soccer had a great game on Thursday or Friday night. I'm not sure which one it was. I watched it on Friday. Beat NC State 3-0 on senior night. So that was fun.
Backstory. Sean watched that game on replay and was texting the group.
Had no idea.
Texting the group, man, we're up 1-2. And I said, I wanted to text him back, like, well, that was on replay, played yesterday. But the boys won tonight, 4-2 against American, so they're on a 4-game win streak, so that's big.
Hey, we're supporting all sports at UVA, rounding out this.
Hey, I saw Ben. Didn't Ben James have a hole-in-one the other day? Or was that
Ben? That was Ben Coles.
Ben Coles.
Ben Coles on the tour.
That was kind of sick.
Well, as always, we are hoping for the best this weekend, and go Hoos.
Go Hoos.
Go Hoos.